The Trump organization and the Trump family have made their money out of cryptocurrencies, huge amounts of it. I think it's 1.4 billion US. And that's not, though, from holding onto Bitcoin or holding onto any cryptocurrency. They sold that meme coin, which netted a huge amount of money for them, but left about 1 million investors, I think about $3 billion in the hole.
Ian, firstly, can you tell us what the connection is between AI data centers and Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because as Bitcoin becomes rarer, and bear in mind there's only 21 million or something out there, and we're getting up towards that upper limit. So as it becomes rarer, it becomes harder to mine. Now the miners play a crucial role in the pricing of Bitcoin because they get a commission for conducting transactions, and also they then are allowed to, they get rewarded some Bitcoin. But the more scarce Bitcoin becomes, the harder it is to mine, the more expensive, the more computing power and the more electricity you have to use. And so they're using huge amounts of computing power, huge amounts of electricity, and the price of Bitcoin has crashed. So, prices going down and costs going skyward. And suddenly you've got this AI boom in the middle of all this, where all of these, tech companies need vast amounts of computing power and access to huge amounts of electricity. And it's like a voila moment, So a lot of these miners are now switching to become data centers. They've got the real estate, they've got massive sheds full of computer that can store data, and they've got access to the grid.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So the AI boom is making the economics of Bitcoin mining much less attractive, as you've been writing about.
Yeah, so obviously, the mining is going to have to move somewhere else, possibly away from America and towards Russia and China, where it'll be even less easy to track what's going on there. Mm-hmm. But there's certainly a lot going on in that space.
Yeah, so Bitcoin is down around half from its peak of about 122,000 US dollars a coin back in October last year. Is that the only reason, this data center Bitcoin mining boom, or are there other reasons like rising interest rate expectations in the US, for example?
That's possibly part of it, but the other big thing is there's a lot of institutions selling. So Bitcoin became, it overcame all of those negative attributes that it had, and it obtained a fair amount of legitimacy within the financial world. And the arrival of Donald Trump in his second term as presidency actually helped that a lot, because he promised to make America the Bitcoin capital of the world, and to make get rid of a lot of regulations around Bitcoin, and to have an SEC head, this is the Securities and Exchange Commission, that was much more amenable to cryptocurrency. So all of those things came about, but once everybody achieved their dreams, there was no further hurdles that you could dismount. And so everyone was left sitting there thinking, well, what do we do now? And the price has basically just gone down.
Yeah, as you've written in your article, even major backer Michael Saylor, who famously said, never sell your Bitcoin, has had to break that commitment. That tells you something.
Well, it does, doesn't it? I mean, and this is a company called Strategy that he runs, which is the world's biggest corporate owner of Bitcoin. And this was 18 months ago. He said, never sell your Bitcoin. And he's had to sell quite a lot. In fact, just in the past week, he's had a program authorised to be able to sell $1.25 billion worth of Bitcoin. And he's been trying to raise more cash through selling shares, because in the past he's raised quite a lot of money, poured it all into buying Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is halved, and he's raised some money through shares that have a guaranteed return on them, like a 12-13% interest rate on them. So he's now trying to raise money to keep those interest payments alive.
Wow, okay. But even as crypto falls, Donald Trump still wins.
Tells you something that you probably shouldn't buy anything that Donald Trump's selling, really, should you? I mean, interestingly, the Trump organization and the Trump family have made their money out of cryptocurrencies, huge amounts of it. I think it's 1.4 billion US. And that's not, though, from holding onto Bitcoin or holding onto any cryptocurrency. They sold that meme coin, which netted a huge amount of money for them, but left about 1 million investors, I think about $3 billion in the hole. And there's been that company, Liberty Finance, which has, it's kind of a broking, financing, crypto financing organisation, which again doesn't actually hold Bitcoin, but it just profits from the sales of it.
Ian Verrender, thank you so much.
Thanks, Alicia.